Today's run was 12.01 miles, which is 19.33 kilometers at an average pace of 8:03 a mile, which is 5 minutes a kilometer. Bringing my total in the New Balance 1080 version 11 up to 104 miles, meaning it's time for my full review. Okay, here are the stats really quickly. Neutral running shoe, 30 in the back, 22 in the front, 8mm drop overall. New Balance says a men's size 9 comes in at 9.3 ounces or 263 grams. My men's size 13 weighs in at 11.4 ounces or 324 grams. Now, if you remember from my first review video, it was very hot that day. This shoe put on an additional 25% from all the sweat. Today's run was nice and cool, only 60 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 15.56 Celsius. So I didn't sweat. So the shoe didn't gain any weight, which is always good. This shoe isn't cheap at $149.95. It's kind of like mid-range pricing for this daily trainer. But even though this may be a bit early to say, I think this shoe is well worth $150. It does run true to size. Now, I did mention on my first review video that even though the shoe fits true to size, it does seem a little tight. Like the laces are pulling together and the eyelet chains are really close together so I can get that good lockdown feeling. Nothing has changed in that department. And although it does look a little funny when I look down at the shoe, it does feel good. I get a good lockdown across the top of my foot, no issues there. Now, if we are starting with the top and the eyelet chain, why don't we start at the top and work our way down? 1080 version 11 does have an engineered hyperknit mesh upper, and it feels good. And as I said about my first run, the hyperknit upper does kind of hold on to liquid. So if you're a big sweater or you plan to use this shoe in the summertime, be prepared for this shoe to soak it up. But if you're not sweating like a farm animal, the shoe is perfect and won't be gaining any extra weight. I really have nothing bad to say about this hyperknit upper. It lets my foot move around while at the same time keeping it locked down. Is that a contradiction? Maybe, but my toes feel good. There's plenty of room for them to splay out. I didn't have any hot spots. And really, what more can you ask than that? It is nice and pliable, and this New Balance N here just helps give it a little extra rigidity, so when you pull the laces, it does lock down across your midfoot. The tongue is nice and thin, but not too thin. It's not like some of those other tongues on a lot lighter shoes where they're just like one piece of material. This is lightly padded and it is gusseted, helping contribute to the lockdown across the midfoot. Feels good. I hate a thick tongue. This hits the sweet spot. The laces are also fine. Why am I talking about the laces? Well, on my last shoe review, my shoes did come untied. I can tell you that these shoes haven't come untied once in the 104 miles that I've run in them. They're a nice linguine-shaped lace with just a little bit of stretch. It's good. Laces are really nothing to talk about until they go wrong. So I actually don't know why I'm talking about them here. Let's move on to the heel, because the heel is something that I want to talk to you guys about. This is something that I want you to pay attention if you've experienced the same thing, and if you haven't, it's something to keep in mind. New Balance is using their Ultra Heel technology. We can see this nice flare out here to take pressure off your Achilles tendon, and the heel collar is very thin. There's no unnecessary weight, no unnecessary padding. And while some people may like a little more padding, especially if this starts to rub, I didn't experience any rubbing. It felt pretty good, but it didn't always feel pretty good. Whenever I put these shoes on, first of all, so before I go for my run and I put my foot in, there's something about this heel counter. Now, the heel counter is very rigid. It's like there's an internal piece of plastic that just keeps it nice and secure. But when I put my heel down in here, it almost feels like my heel isn't getting seated correctly. I can feel something about the midpoint of my heel, and it's very annoying. And this is what I think is happening. So before I go for my run, these shoes have been sitting. I usually don't run in the same pair of shoes 2 days running. So the midsole foam has had a chance to expand. Listen, I don't know if this is real or legit. I'm just trying to make up an answer for what I'm feeling. My heel is sitting a little higher inside this heel cup. But the second I go for my run, the second I take my first step, the heel feels good. It's almost like my foot needs to sink down into this midsole foam to make it fit correctly. Is this a reason for you to not buy this shoe? I don't think so. You're only going to put your shoe on once, then you're going to run in it. I only notice it immediately after I put my shoe on. As soon as I take those first steps, the feeling disappears and they feel like a normal pair of shoes with a good, secure grip around my heel. I don't think about it again until my next run when I put the shoes on. But this is a review and I want you to know what you're getting into. So when you put these shoes on for the first time and you think, geez, Matt, you told me it felt really good. Yeah, it feels like my foot isn't in the heel. Now you know. Let's move down to the midsole. It is New Balance Fresh Foam X midsole, and I think this is what this shoe is all about. I do have to tell you that the 1080 version 10 used the same midsole. The only thing they changed from the 10 to 11 was the upper. And that's important to remember as I tell you that that is the best part of this shoe. Look how squishy this is. I can just pinch down here and it actually compresses a lot. And that's deceptive. That squeeze test is very deceptive because it doesn't ride like a really spongy shoe. This shoe does not feel super soft. Now, even though it is a daily trainer and you can put in your miles, you can put in long miles in this shoe, it doesn't feel as soft and as squishy as you might think by squeezing it. It is deceptively responsive. And I hate to use that four-letter F word, fast, but this shoe is surprisingly fast. Now, obviously, it's not going to win any speed awards, but this is a big shoe. At 11.4 ounces in my size, I mean, this thing is a boat. 30mm stack height in the back. It's not a skinny mini. And yet when I pick up the pace, it is surprisingly fast. It feels really good. With a shoe with this kind of stack height, with this kind of squish value, you know you can go the long haul on this. You know that you can log these long mileage days. You can also pick up the pace. This shoe really is a great daily trainer, and you can pretty much, aside from the shortest, quickest intervals, if you put this shoe on your foot, it's gonna work for you. Overall, super good fit, very comfortable, even when you're in it for hours at a time. Let's go to the outsole, because after 104 miles, it's important to see how this shoe is holding up. Let me tell you what I like about the rubber on the outsole. With these flex grooves through the middle, it makes it very flexible. This is a very flexible shoe. Look at that bend. Also, when I was running in the wet, not really rain wet, but overnight they put the sprinklers on and then the ground is wet, so I am running on wet conditions sometimes. I didn't notice any slip. When I was rounding the corners on wet roads, this shoe had a lot of grip. However, as far as wear goes, I'm going to give this shoe a C+. And here's why. Like all my shoes, I am seeing some wear on my outside right foot corner, just where I heel strike when I'm running at slower paces. Across the midfoot, this is where I'm seeing the most wear. And after 100 miles, it's a little concerning how much wear I'm seeing. So we can see these white flex grooves through the middle here. That is the midsole material. And then we have the lower part of the red, and then we have the upper lugs. I would say that this lug in particular, right here on my midsole, which obviously is where I'm hitting the most, that has worn down by about half. And I'm only judging that by the size of the other lugs. Now, if we continue on this pace, by the time I get to 200 miles, maybe 250, this lug is going to be worn down to the flat part of the rubber outsole. Maybe it's a type of rubber that saves weight. I don't know, I'm just trying to make excuses because this shoe is $150 and it is a daily trainer, kind of max cushion with that 30-22 stack height. I kind of think that this should be a shoe that you would run in for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles, like 400 at the absolute minimum. Now, while I have no doubt that this shoe will get to 400 miles, I think it's going to be in pretty bad shape by the time you get to 400 or 450 miles. If you have put more miles than that in your 1080 version 10s or even your 1080 versions 11, write in the comments below. Let me know how they're holding up. This white part here, this is all midsole material, and this is showing some serious signs of wear. Right here at the heel, now there is rubber around the back protecting it, but this is wearing down. Now, that really doesn't mean anything for performance. This is just the lowest point at this point, and when it gets worn down, there is rubber all around that's going to protect it. But, you know, when it's wearing down, it just doesn't look nice. On the flip side, it is on the bottom of my foot, and to be honest, I really don't look at the bottom of my shoes too often unless I'm doing these reviews. I guess what you want to know is if I recommend this shoe. Yes, I do. It is extremely comfortable. It is extremely versatile. It can do pretty much everything. Maybe not everything perfectly, but you can do any type of run that you want to do in this shoe, and that's rare to find. Is it the most resilient shoe? By the looks of this, after 104 miles, I'm going to say no. But is it the worst? Absolutely not. If you're interested in checking out this shoe, I will put my affiliate link down below. Doesn't cost you any more, just helps support the channel. If you like this review, or if you like running shoe reviews in general, give this video a thumbs up. Guys, new videos at least twice a week. Be kind, be happy, run well. See you in a couple of days.